Guys, is it just me, or are we ever going to be done with the security logbook? You see, lately I've been trying to figure out what date the gameplay of Sister Location actually took place in, just to better smooth out my FNAF timeline. And it was then that I remembered, oh, there are some references of Sister Location in the security logbook, so I started looking that up, but then it hit me. When does Michael actually have this security logbook? Because the placement of this logbook kind of determines when Sister Location took place. And the reason because of that is there are direct and explicit references to Sister Location in this book, namely the casual bongos and of course the exotic butters, something that literally Michael only would have known about by being the one who played Sister Location. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you, everything I'm about to say is purely speculation, and I do not believe it. It's probably none of it's even true, but it's a very interesting point and something that I think we should answer and that I need help answering from you guys. And the first thing we have to ask is, when does Michael have the security logbook? Some say it's FNAF 3, others say it's FNAF 1, so where does this take place? Because if this is FNAF 1, Sister Location had to have happened before FNAF 1, and there would be a lot of very interesting implications if that was the case. And if it's FNAF 3, then nothing would change and we're completely fine. But honestly, the arguments for saying that it's for FNAF 3 are a little weak in my opinion. It's speculated that this was actually an item that was being sold by Fazbear Frights and was a children's activity book. But to be honest, there's not really any evidence of that. And why would Michael be so interested in a kid's book that he writes down all the stuff that he did? Another aspect is the, obvious post-it note that's on the very first page saying, hey, this belonged to someone else. And what does this sound like? Would they put that in a kid's book? What this sounds like to me is the FNAF 1 location, which was under budget, undercut, barely up and running. And so after Michael Afton at the end of his first week was fired due to tampering to animatronics and odor, their next security guard got this book, which is kind of us as the reader. And they're saying, hey, someone already used this, sorry, here you go. I think that fits way better with what we actually see here, and honestly matches up with what we see better throughout the rest of the book. The infamous Nightmare Fredbear picture, what does this mean? Now honestly, what I'm about to talk about, Rytos did a great video on. Go check this video out, it's great. I'll just give you a quick rundown of what he says. What Rytos proposed is, what if during FNAF 1 we play as Michael, and then he goes home during the day and has the nightmares of FNAF 4, which are encouraged by the crying child trying to reach out and contact him. Because after all, in the FNAF books and the story Alone Together, we learned that some of the first signs of being haunted or contacted by a spirit is your dreams are not your own, and so therefore this would line up very nicely if we have Michael having the crying child's dreams of memories. And what do we see in the security logbook? Well, throughout this logbook we have Michael the user and we have two spirits communicating through this book, and it seems to be the spirit of Cassidy and the spirit of the crying child. But what are they trying to do? It seems that Cassidy and Michael are trying to work together to bring the crying child to their senses and realization of what is going on. That way the crying child can move on during the happiest day and everybody can be nice and happy. And so throughout the book you see the crying child and Cassidy having a conversation, asking each other their names and so forth and so on, which is how we learned that Cassidy's name is Cassidy and presumably the crying child's name is Dave. I'm not 100% on that quite yet, but still it is a compelling idea. But one of the questions that it seems that Cassidy asks Michael directly is, do you have dreams? And of course, Michael draws Nightmare Fredbear, which is really, to be honest, one of the main reasons that we know that Michael was the one having, the FNAF 4 nightmares. That and also the FNAF 1 phone call playing in the background of the game. And so it hit me, why would Cassidy be asking this if this was during FNAF 3? I feel like if it was during FNAF 3, it would be something like, do you still have dreams? Because one aspect is the fact that Michael is having these dreams based off of the memories of FNAF 1. And so it'd be more like, do you still have dreams? Are you having dreams? But instead it's a direct question for the present. Do you have dreams? Almost asking Michael, hey, is this working? Are we able to reach the crying child? Are your dreams being affected with his memories? Which would then place Michael having this book more closely fitting to FNAF 1. But if that's the case, then what does that mean for Sister Location? Where does Sister Location fit into the FNAF franchise? We always thought that it was in between FNAF 1 and FNAF 3, and what about Follow Me? That takes place, and that's where William Afton creates the Funtime animatronics and injects them with Remnant, which then leads to Sister Location and the creation of Innard and then Molten Freddy with the spirits of the MCI. So all of this would crumble, but what if it doesn't have to? Because there was one interesting element of Follow Me that I realized just recently, and I was like, that's interesting. Basically, in Follow Me, William Afton leads each one of the 5 original spirits in their suits to the back room, where he then dismantles them, destroys them, and presumably extracts Remnant, which then he puts into the Funtime animatronics, and so forth and so on. Now, we've all thought that this happened after FNAF 1 and with the FNAF 1 classic animatronics, and that the 4 spirits that were in those 4 suits that he destroyed were from the original MCI children. But there's one problem with Follow Me, and it is the fact that Freddy and Bonnie have buttons on their chest, just like Withered Freddy and Withered Bonnie. And yeah, this is where the speculation comes into play. Because what if the movie's right? What if the classic FNAF 1 animatronics and the Withereds are 2 separate sets of characters and could possibly even have different spirits in them? Yeah, I know it's absolutely wild, and to be honest, I don't even believe it myself. I just want help, explaining this. What if the Withered animatronics had their own set of murders, and they were the ones that were destroyed early on in the FNAF timeline, maybe even before FNAF 2, or maybe a little bit after FNAF 2. But at some location, they are destroyed, the Remnant is extracted and experimented with, which leads to the creation of the Funtime animatronics. And this would also place the fact that William Afton would have died a lot earlier in the timeline than what we thought, leading to Michael Afton going down to the bunker being one of the first things that he does. And yeah, there's a lot of things that don't add up, to be honest, with this idea, but it really all comes down to 2 things: where you hold this book in the timeline, and does classic Freddy and classic Bonnie have buttons, or was that just a mistake on Scott's part? So funny enough, this is a couple days later, but there was something that I actually thought about that would help maybe just add another layer on these questions that I'm asking. And it is the endoskeletons that were found mysteriously in the Innard vent repair game that are in the furnace. Seems like to me that with help wanted, we keep finding little nuggets of interesting lore, and this was one of them. Now in this game, we actually turn on a furnace, and there's a weird amalgamation of animatronic parts that no one really decided to look at until someone finally did. And it turned out it was 4 animatronic parts, but what endoskeleton were they? Because this would maybe help clear up the fact that the Withered animatronics are their own thing, or if they're the same thing as the classics. Well, it appears to be Endo-01s, although I've heard some people say that it's a mix of both Endo-01s and Endo-02s, but I can't confirm this. So if you guys know, help me out with that. But if it is Endo-01s, and they were separated, there's 4 separate Endo-01 skeletons, then that could be the classics and would honestly help clear up a lot of this, except for one key point that I thought about. If this is kind of showing us William Afton melting down these animatronics to get Remnant, then how come we're literally facing Innard in that minigame who would have been possessed with the Remnant of the animatronics that William Afton destroyed and put Remnant into the Funtimes? So it doesn't really add up. I think it's a really cool point, possibly helping us explain Molten MCI, but it doesn't add up 100% simply because of Innard being there. I also think that it's helpful to mention this, and I'm just trying to make a case about the fact that it's possible that the Withereds and the classics are 2 separate animatronics. They are 2 separate endoskeletons. I think we've overlooked the importance of the fact that the Withereds have Endo-02s, while the FNAF 1 animatronics have Endo-01s. These are basically 2 completely separate robotic type endoskeletons, so it really wouldn't make sense for Fazbear Entertainment to try to reuse the Endo-02s to make the classics. They just would literally have to start from scratch and remake a whole new animatronic, because the felt fabric parts presumably could really only fit on the Endo-02s correctly, or they would have to take them off and put them on a brand new endoskeleton. So they're not really the same animatronic. So with all of that being said, I think there are several key things here that we could work with to help us better understand the FNAF timeline. And I would love to have your guys' help, so leave your comments down below and I will definitely look through them and reply to a lot of them for you guys. Now before you go, I want to run a little giveaway on my channel. I want to give away this possessed Fredbear plush. Now don't get super excited, this is not the Sanshi one like this one is, but it's actually a very nice bootleg of this plushie. So all you have to do is subscribe to my channel, and in this video comment, I'm subscribed, and whoever does it first, I'll reply to it giving you my email, and you can send me your address and I will send you this awesome guy. And so with that, thanks for watching. My fellow FNAFologists, keep on theorizing and have a fantastic day.